Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to Top Shutter Sports. A lot is going on in the NFL, even though the rest of the sports world is kind of at a standstill, so that's why we're kind of doing these update videos. It's been just over a week now since Vic last gave a great update to the beginning of the offseason, and a lot has happened since then. It is currently, time do we have here? 1:10 on the 25th. So anything that happens after 1 p.m. roughly on the 25th will not be covered in this video. That will be covered in a subsequent video. We're trying to just keep up with all the craziness that is happening, including a huge QB carousel. You have to love when the offseason delivers like this one has. So let's get started. The Panthers are the winners of the TB sweepstakes. That's right. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year, $63 million deal. What TB did you think I was talking about? They also made probably the most moves since last week. They released Eric Reid and Cam Newton. That's now official. They signed XFL standout PJ Walker, giving them another quarterback. They also signed Robbie Anderson. They trade away Kyle Allen to the Redskins for a late round pick. And then they also signed Trey Boston to a 3-year, $18 million deal. All of these moves are interesting. Cam Newton, probably the biggest surprise here, the fact that he is no longer going to be a Panther. And then subsequently, the signing of Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater is probably the most coveted quarterback. In my opinion, he should have been. I don't know if that's actually the case or not. I'm sure a lot of people wanted the other TB or felt he should be more coveted. But Bridgewater's still young, still very talented. Kind of questionable as to why he hasn't been a starter. Obviously, playing behind Drew Brees in New Orleans was, I think, good for him. Great for the Saints. But good for him to move on, and love the contract on the Panthers side of things. 3 years, $63 million for a guy who's better than Ryan Tannehill. We'll put it that way. And then also the fact that 4 quarterbacks in total move around here. So they signed Bridgewater, they signed Walker, they release Cam Newton, and they trade Kyle Allen. 4 quarterbacks moving through the Carolina system. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they don't have a quarterback because Tom Brady signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Brady said Patriot for life, but he'll be a Patriot for life in a Buccaneers uniform next year. He signed a 2-year, $50 million deal, fully guaranteed. Good for him. Definitely one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if not the best. Certainly the most successful, we can all agree on that. And it'll be interesting and definitely weird seeing him play in a different uniform next year. So something, I think, a big storyline that a lot of people will follow. Also, for his sake, hopefully last year wasn't a sign of things to come. And hopefully for the Bucs' sake, because they allowed Jameis Winston to walk. And I feel like he still has a lot of talent in him. Now, I made the joke about the Patriots not having a quarterback. They do have quarterbacks. They have, I believe, Cody Kessler. They've got some Stidham or something like that. He was a 4th-round pick. Who cares? He's played behind Brady, so it doesn't matter. And his last name wasn't Garoppolo. But they did bring back Brian Hoyer on a 1-year deal after the Colts released him. Hoyer's backup, though. So it'll be interesting to see what the Patriots actually do. Definitely some quarterbacks are going to be on the market still. Andy Dalton should be on the market. I don't believe that's official yet. Obviously Cam, a lot of talent there. We will see what happens. Sticking with the QB madness, Drew Brees is staying with the Saints. He also received a 2-year, $50 million deal. Malcolm Jenkins returns to the Saints, 4 years, $32 million. And Emmanuel Sanders signs with the Saints. I love all 3 of these moves. The only reason I hate the Malcolm Jenkins move is because the Eagles allowed him to walk. That was dumb, in my opinion. This guy played like 99% of their defensive snaps. He's a great team leader, and 4 years, $32 million is not that much. He is getting up there in age, but overall, I love that deal. Obviously, keeping Breeze is a no-brainer, and I don't really think more has to be said about that. Great move. But giving Breeze the weapon of Emmanuel Sanders, so now you've got Kamara, you've got Sanders, you've got Thomas. The fact that I said Thomas third there is crazy. It's exactly what Drew Brees needs. And the fact that it is the same length, so he'll be there for 2 years, as will Breeze, and then he'll have the option to Sanders will have the option to move on. I love that for him. And again, 16 mil, not a ton. I guess maybe a little pricey for wide receivers, depending on how you like to pay them. But for a solid receiver, a solid 2, for sure, I really like that deal. Don't worry, more quarterback news. We're flowing. The Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger came to terms and reworked his contract to create a little extra salary space. I believe going into the offseason they had, I want to say it was like $33.5 million to work with, so not a ton there. So reworking Ben's contract allows for them to hopefully bring in some weapons for him and just in general help rebuild the team. One weapon that they've added, and one that they'll look to add, is they added fullback Derek Watt. So now they've got 2 of the Watt brothers. All they need is JJ to complete the trifecta. And I'm pretty sure if they send a Permani sandwich to Bill O'Brien, he would have no problem sending JJ to the Steelers. Something to keep an eye on. I don't think it'll happen, but if it did, probably one of the coolest storylines of all time. 3 brothers playing on the same team. The Steelers also signed Eric Ebron, former Colt, 2-year, $12 million. Love that deal for them. Ebron is solid. He proved his potential with the Colts that the Lions were never able to tap into. So good move for the Steelers. Ebron's a solid player. Speaking of the Colts, they signed Phillip Rivers to a 1-year, $25 million contract. I don't like this contract on paper. However, thing to keep in mind with the Colts is they have a ton of cap space. So think like, well, an easy metaphor for us is the Sixers when they signed JJ Redick while they were still kind of working through the process. They signed him to a 1-year, $25 million roughly deal that was overpaying the man incredibly. That being said, they had a ton of cap space to work with, so why not? It doesn't matter. You're not going to move it anywhere else. It's a 1-year deal, so it'll be off the books next year, and you can have that money to spend freely. Love this move in that sense. On the other side of things, the Colts would probably be better to draft, and they still can do that with a 1-year deal with Phillip Rivers. It's just a question of how much of an improvement is Phillip Rivers over Jacoby Brissett. Probably enough. And is it worth the $5 million upgrade? Probably. We'll see. The last, I believe, QB news that we have is the Bears received Nick Foles from the Jags for a 4th-round pick. This is 1 year after Nick Foles signed that incredible 4-year, $88 million deal. Come back when the Tannehill deal falls through. Can't wait. The Bears also signed defensive end Robert Quinn to a 5-year, $70 million deal. He led the Cowboys last year in sacks with 11.5, and he missed 2 games. So solid addition there. 5 years, though, is a lot of time to lock in a football player. 5-year deals scare me a lot, unless it's with like a quarterback, like a franchise guy. And $70 million, also a lot of money. So we'll see. I have a feeling this one will come back to bite the Bears in the butt. We'll see. The Raiders signed linebacker Corey Littleton to a 3-year, $36 million deal. Solid linebacker, played for the Rams for the past couple of years, I believe since like 2016. 3 years, $36 million. It's a good deal. I like it. I like it for both sides. The Raiders also signed Jason Witten to a 1-year, $4.75 million contract. This is another weird one. Not going to be with the Cowboys anymore. Jason Witten, just his whole path has been kind of weird. He retired, he came back with the Cowboys, and now is going to play an additional year, but not with the Cowboys. Just kind of weird. The Bills extend safety Jordan Poyer with a 2-year, $20 million deal. Poyer, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated safeties in the league. He's very good, and a huge part of the Bills' defense. I really like this deal for them, and that's really all I had to say about that. Solid safety, and honestly, probably underpaid. The Bengals sign Trey Waynes to a 3-year, $42 million deal. Not sure how I feel about this deal. This is definitely one of those ones where you're going to have to wait and see. But up front, I'm going to lean towards this is a bad deal. I don't really think the Bengals should be spending, in my opinion, stupid money on an okay defensive back. But we'll see. It's not terrible, it's not like terribly lopsided or anything. 14 mil a year. The Cowboys were able to retain Sean Lee. Now Lee is 34 years old, around there. He's had so many injury problems. I was really hoping for his sake that he would retire, or at the very least, if he's going to keep playing, he's staying with the Cowboys. It feels right. 1 year, $4.5 million. But at this point, Sean, I mean, just hang him up, you know? Nobody would blame you. The Cowboys also signed Gerald McCoy. Now, I believe we're 2 years maybe removed from him signing an ugly contract that clearly hasn't paid off. So now he is signing with the Cowboys. 3 years, $18.3 million. Love this deal. Definitely a bounce back kind of guy. Also easy to perform on $6.1 million per year. Cowboys also signed the greatest name in football, Clinton Dix. He signed a 1-year, $4 million deal. We kind of saw some of his potential when he was with Green Bay. 1-year deal, kind of a prove-it contract. I like this for Clinton Dix. Do you say his full last name with the hyphen, or do you just say the first half? I don't know how that works. The Broncos received Jarrell Casey from the Titans for a 7th-round pick. I love this move for the Broncos. A great move. A 7th-round pick for a great professional defensive lineman. It's a really good move for them, and I definitely think the Titans will regret this. A 7th-round pick for an everyday guy, for a starter, for a guy who's going to play most of your defensive snaps. Now, the Titans did go and fill the void, I suppose, by signing Vic Beasley Jr. Now, we should all remember that Vic Beasley did lead the league in sacks in 2016, so maybe they're kind of hoping for some of that magic to come back. But 1 year, $9.5 million, this is definitely a prove-it contract for Beasley, more so than it is a helpful contract for the Titans. I would have tried to lock him in, and I would have tried to lock him in for less than $9.5 million a year, but that's the world they're living in. Back to the Broncos, they also signed Melvin Gordon. Now, Melvin Gordon held out last year. He wanted more money from the Chargers. It wasn't happening. He came back anyway. He played fine. He signs a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Broncos. I don't think that's the money he was looking for. So yeah, holding out doesn't always work out. Le'Veon Bell, he's an example, and you see how he's played. Todd Gurley didn't hold out, but we've seen why paying a lot of money for running backs may not be the best idea. The Broncos also, to round up all their moves, they waived Joe Flacco. Now, I didn't include Flacco in the QB carousel above because who cares? Let's see, Dante Fowler signs with the Falcons, so that's how they fill the Vic Beasley void. So they swap one junior with another. That's a 3-year, $48 million deal. And hey, while we're talking about a Rams player, a former Rams player, and while we just got off the topic of Todd Gurley, the Rams released him and Clay Matthews, and Gurley promptly signed with the Falcons, 1 year, $6 million. Love that move for the Falcons. Gurley still played well. He definitely has injury problems. But for $6 million, I think you take that gamble. Desmond Trufant signed with the Lions for 2 years, $21 million. It was an interesting move. I liked it when I thought he was going to be, one of their secondary defensive backs, one of their secondaries. And then the Lions traded Darius Slay, a good defensive back, I think we would all agree, to the Eagles for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. A great move for the Eagles. Definitely helps their defense and their pass protection. Wish they would have held on to Malcolm Jenkins there. But to give up a 3rd and a 5th round pick for one of the top, or towards the top, defensive backs in the league, that's not a huge price to pay. It's not a real risky move in my opinion. And it's kind of a dumb move on the Lions' part. The Dolphins signed former Eagles running back Jordan Howard to a 2-year, $10 million deal. I don't like this deal at all. Even though it's only about $10 million and it's only a 2-year deal, I think Jordan Howard doesn't really have a lot left in the tank. Maybe he'll prove us wrong. Who knows? We'll see. Chris Harris Jr. signed with the Chargers to a 2-year, $17 million deal. I really like this move. Harris, not far removed from his best days. The Chargers do well here as well. 2 years, not a ton of time. You could even release him after the year if it really isn't working out. And really for only $17 million, so roughly $8.5 a year, not bad. Not bad. The Jets signed Pierre Desir to a 1-year contract. He also was a part of the Colts Cuts that has a nice ring to it, a little alliteration. When they cut Brian Hoyer, they also cut Pierre Desir. He signed a 3-year deal last offseason with the Colts to stick around. But they saved, I think, like $7 million in cap space there. So the Jets signed Desir. He's a solid defensive back. He's not in no way a team's best option. He should be a 2nd or 3rd, but he gets the job done. So, and then last but not least, to kind of round up some of these bigger moves, the Jags signed veteran tight end Tyler Eifert. I've always been big on Eifert. I think he's a great tight end, kind of a poor man's Kelsey, Ertz. I guess really poor man's, but he's a good receiving tight end, does his job blocking, does a fairly good job. And he's not far removed from some of his better years, so we'll see. This is a good move, I think, by the Jags, but, they're the Jags. So they signed Nick Foles to that ugly contract. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That rounds up all of our big moves over the past week, almost week and a half at this point probably. If there are any moves that you want us to talk about that I didn't get around to, let us know down in the comments or let us know on Twitter. We would be more than happy to maybe do a quick breakdown. If there's just any of these that you want us to go a little further into, maybe why the Lions decided to trade Darius Slay. Do you think it was good that they just got the value they could out of him since he clearly wasn't happy there? These are all things that we could have touched on, but again, just so many moves. Try not to make this video too long, just trying to get you up to date on everything that's going on. But yeah, let us know down in the comments if there's anything you want to deeper dive into. More than happy to do that. And we'll see you guys in the next video.